And what do they say of Robb Stark in the north?
They call him the young wolf. They say he can't be killed.
Do you believe them?
No, my lord. Anyone can be killed.
Everyone tells you the same story about this scene. The old lion and the little wolf, the unlikely bond, the secret mentor who saw something special in the servant girl and chose to protect her. A tender moment, a soft spot in the hardest man in Westeros. That reading is not just wrong, it is the exact opposite of what happened. Tywin Lannister did not spare Arya Stark out of warmth. He kept her because he had already decided what she was. An asset, a useful mind, a servant too sharp to waste. And that decision, that one act of filing a person into a category, is one of the coldest, most revealing mistakes he ever made. Because the man who prided himself on reading everyone had the daughter of his enemy pouring his wine every night. And he never saw a weapon, he saw furniture. Let us be precise about what Tywin actually knew, because the softer version of this story survives on a lie of omission.
Or I'll carve your lungs out, boy.
You do no such thing. This one's a girl, you idiot.
Tywin knew she was a girl. He saw through the boy disguise in seconds. He knew she was highborn.
Low-born girls say, "My lord," not "my lord." If you're going to pose as a commoner, you should do it properly.
Her speech gave her away, her posture, the way she held knowledge she had no business holding. He knew she was a northerner. He caught her lie about Maidenpool the instant she fumbled the sigil.
Where are you from?
Maidenpool, my lord.
And what is their sigil? A red salmon. I think a Maidenpool girl would remember that. You're a northerner, aren't you?
So this was never a man fooled by a clever child. He decoded almost everything about her. He got everything right, except the one fact that mattered. And here is the part the mental crowd never sits with. Tywin did not keep her despite knowing she was dangerous. He kept her because his own doctrine told him a highborn northern girl could not be a threat. Intelligence over blood. That was his rule. He respected a sharp mind wherever he found one. That is the part everyone romanticizes. But watch what that rule does here. It lets him admire her mind and never once weigh her cause. He priced her as talent in a war he was fighting against her family. That is not tenderness. That is a targeting error with a compliment attached. Strip the sentiment away and look at what Arya actually was, in Tywin's own language. Not a friend. A resource he mispriced. Robb Stark was the whole problem. Tywin says it himself in that hall.
We've underestimated the Stark boy for too long. He has a good mind for warfare. His men worship him. As long as he keeps winning battles, they'll keep believing he is king in the north.
The Lannisters were losing battles to a boy. Tywin needed leverage over him. Anything to pull Robb off the field. And the leverage was standing 3 feet away, refilling his goblet. Robb Stark's own sister. A hostage worth more than any castle. The single piece that could have forced the North to the table. Tywin had her. In his hall. For weeks. And he used her to pour wine. This is the man they call the greatest strategist in Westeros. And the most valuable prisoner of the entire war walked past his chair every night. Invisible. Because he had already decided what she was and stopped looking. Warmth did not save Arya. Certainty did. His certainty that he already knew who she was. Now the honest counter-argument. Maybe he did like her. Maybe there was real respect in that hall. The performances certainly sell it.
You hungry?
No?
Of course you are. Eat.
And the writing leans into it. Fine. Grant all of it. It changes nothing about the verdict, because a man who respects a mind and still cannot see the threat attached to it has not shown you his warmth. He has shown you his limit. Tywin's whole identity was built on one claim. He saw people clearly. He read the board better than anyone alive. So the affection does not soften the failure. It sharpens it. He got close enough to this girl to enjoy her, and still never registered what she was carrying. The fondness is not the counter-evidence. The fondness is the trap. It is exactly the thing that kept him from asking the one question that mattered. Here is something most of the mentor videos will never tell you, because it dismantles their own thesis. The warm Tywin and Arya relationship you are picturing does not exist in the books. At all. In A Clash of Kings, Arya is a scullion. She scrubs. She hauls. She never sits across from Tywin Lannister. They never trade a single word. The entire dining hall dynamic, the tests, the banter, the respect, was built for the show. Charles Dance and Maisie Williams were that good, so the writers gave them a room to fence in. And in the books, Arya reaches a very different conclusion about the man. Later, she realises the mistake she made, that she should have simply named Tywin himself for death when she had the chance, and ended a piece of the war on the spot. Sit with that. The character herself on the page looks back and understands him as a target she failed to take. The show handed you a friendship. The source material handed you a kill she regretted not making. So when a channel tells you their bond was beautiful, ask which Tywin they mean, the one Martin wrote, or the one HBO built to make you feel something the story never intended. So let us make the cold version of this argument, and let us make it honest, because the cheap version is a lie, and you deserve better. Arya Stark did not kill Tywin. Say it plainly. Tyrion did. 2 crossbow bolts in a privy. 2 seasons later. Arya was nowhere near it. Good. Now that we are not pretending, look at what those weeks in his hall actually did. Not in theory. On screen. She stood at the elbow of the coldest strategic mind in the 7 Kingdoms, and she watched him work. How he read a room without raising his voice. How he buried intent inside a plain question. How he treated every living person as a piece with a price. Then watch what she does with it. Inside those same walls, she starts crossing his men off a list. Names spoken to a killer. Deaths delivered without a raised voice. She looks Tywin in the face and tells him anyone can be killed. And she spends the rest of the war proving the sentence. That is not interpretation. That is the sequence. He modelled the method. She executed it in his own castle, against his own side. He took the daughter of his enemy, decided she was harmless, and personally showed her how a cold mind hunts. He did not fail to see a weapon. He picked one up, admired the craftsmanship, and handed it back, sharpened. Because here is the pattern, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Tywin Lannister never lost to a better army. He lost to the people he decided were beneath his attention. A cupbearer he filed as an asset. A son he filed as a disappointment. A whole family he filed as beaten. Every fatal wound to House Lannister came from a person Tywin had already catalogued and stopped watching. Arya was the first draft of that mistake. Tyrion was the last. The greatest judge of character in Westeros never recognised the most important person standing beside him. He spent his life certain that people were pieces on a board. The last piece he misjudged was already pouring his wine. Tywin sparing Arya was never mercy. It was classification. The same reflex that let him win a dozen rooms and lose the only ones that mattered. He caught that she was highborn, northern, and sharp. He missed that she was a combatant in his own war, because his doctrine could not hold the idea that a girl pouring his wine was the enemy. He did not spare her out of warmth. He kept an asset, misjudged which Stark he was holding, and showed her exactly how a cold mind hunts. In the middle of a war, she was there to help win. Tywin Lannister spent his life certain that people were pieces on a board. The last piece he misjudged was already pouring his wine.